Welcome back to the Creating Distance podcast hosted by TA Sales. I'm your host, Tom Alamo. Some people call me Tommy Tahoe. And each week on Fridays, we'll be bringing you an episode to break down with salespeople and sales leaders the top tips, tactics, strategies, stories that you need to get to the next level of your career and up-level yourself. So let's get into it. All right, my man, Sean Gentry. Welcome to Creating Distance. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here.
Excited to have you on. I've had this circled on my calendar all week as one of the intro episodes to getting us back on the podcast stream. And so, I've really enjoyed getting to know you as a person, as a seller, as a leader, over the last, year or so. I feel like we've been connected at the hip. So I'm excited to dive a little deeper into the world of Sean.
I'm just glad that you took my vote on Creating Distance. That's really what I'm excited about. So yeah,
it was truly the only option. So I'm glad we did it too. And congrats on the promo. We got to shout you out on the promotion that just came out on LinkedIn. I think a couple days prior to recording this episode. So director of sales now over at Webflow. Leading dozens of sellers now. You can maybe fill us in on what the scope looks like, but congrats, man. That's hard work and well-deserved.
Thank you. Yeah, something I'm super excited about. Obviously, I was leading corporate sales on the West Coast here based in Seattle for the last 2.5 years. When I started, kind of quick backstory, I had one rep on the team. Like that's 2.5 years ago, there was one corporate seller. Got the opportunity to hire and build the team up to 7 on the West Coast. And then it's funny, I was asked in an interview yesterday, like, what was your proudest achievement? Like what, hitting quota or going to President's Club. And like, honestly, reflecting back, my proudest achievement of the last 2.5 years is that I've never once had a rep come to me and saying they wanted to leave to go to another company. I've had 0 voluntary attrition in 2.5 years. So I think that's pretty unique, especially in this day and age. It's pretty easy to job hop nowadays. So yeah, being able to build and scale and grow the team, and then moving up to director to oversee all of corporate sales North America. It's been a fun ride.
Wow, that's wild. What do you attribute that to? I've heard you say, in nowadays that leaving a company, you're pretty much just changing your Zoom account, you change your Slack account, and that's pretty much it. Other than maybe learning a new product. So what do you think the difference is?
Yeah, I don't let anybody leave. That's
yeah.
Once you're hired by me, you're bound to me for life. But I think like ultimately, it's tough to sell remotely, especially as an AE. And I mean, this too. Like we talk a lot about inner game and talking a lot about like not only in getting better professionally, but it's truly about getting better personally. And I think truly like one of the things that I strive to do that makes me maybe a little bit different than most managers is that I push my people not only to improve their skill sets inside, but really to improve personally, and whether that's taking time for themselves to, meditate or run or eat, like, even those small little things, but it's really treating salespeople like people and challenging them each week to make themselves better. And so I think like, making that a focus, leading from the top. Everyone knows that I've got my hours that I kind of block for either exercise or my family, and then promoting them to do the same has created that culture of improvement and like fulfillment. And so I think that's been a key component of people wanting to stick around.
So I want to get into your come up story. I've got a lot of questions. I've got a lot of notes to try to get to in this time period, but maybe if we just play on that thread for a second before we go back in time. For people that have been a seller or been a leader, I think most of us get it. Most of us get that, in order to perform at a high level, you've got to eat, you've got to sleep, you've got to see your family. But when you're 3 weeks left in the quarter and 10% behind on pace of where you should be, and you've got to roll up your forecast to the VP, and you've got a rep that is underperforming in some way, things start to feel a little tighter. I've been in that bucket before. I've been in that seat before. So how tactically do you do that and make sure that you're having those conversations, but you're also working on the skills, working on the deals, doing all the things that a frontline leader knows that they have to do also?
Yeah, I think ideally, well, perfect world, you're not in that situation.
Yeah, yeah,
For the sake of this discussion, let's say you are, right? You're a sales leader. You have somebody on their team that, or even you, that you're stressed out about getting to your number and fighting towards the end. Like, there's a reason why we sign up for sales is because I think we're all a little crazy inside and want that stress and want that ride.
preach. Yeah,
We want the high highs and kind of not the low lows, but we fight for those highs. So I think at the end of the quarter, I do my best to, especially for the team, is like I said, is to lead by example first and foremost, right? Like ultimately let them know, like we are pushing towards this number, you are pushing towards this number, but I want you to always remember in the back of your head, like this is a job, right? Like you're doing your best, but it's a job. You have to take care of yourself, and I think, I look back at times in my life where I was going out, drinking, partying, staying up late. Like I was never bringing my best self into work. And it's like a snowball effect on stress and performance. And granted, it's taken me a good amount of time of like self-reflection to realize that if I'm putting in the right efforts physically and like in the office every single day, that hopefully I won't get to that point where it's deadlines or bust when I'm super stressed. But so how I'm leading my team is first and foremost, it's like leading by example. What I'm doing, how I'm blocking my calendar, how I'm talking to them. It's putting things in perspective for them, but it's also like boiling down a plan. I feel like people work best when they can tactically look at what's right in front of them without getting too overwhelmed by what's to come in the next couple of weeks, right? So as a leader, if I've got somebody that has 3 weeks or even a week, whatever it may be, to hit their number, and it seems really far in terms of like climbing that mountain, it's can they get 10% there in the next 2 days? Right? Can they get 25% there by the end of the week? And it's really like chunking up and making it incremental of like, hey, you don't need to run a marathon on Saturday. It's like, can you run 4 miles tomorrow? Right. And put it right in front of them. And sometimes it's even boiling that down to like, hey, can you reach out to 20 people by the end of the day? And like making that the accomplishment and then rewarding that behavior and kind of chunking it up so that not people need those wins when they feel super behind, right? If you're training for a marathon, 4 miles can seem like a win to get through that and to do that. Maybe reaching out to 20 prospects by the end of the day is your win. And so it's working on that with the rep individually, having them hit that, rewarding that behavior, and then going from there.
Okay, I love it. So let's bring it back because I think that's going to give people some good perspective on you and put some of this on the table. So I love the come up story. I know that you're an actor in LA, and I'm gonna, we could cut this out if you want, if you're gonna be mad at me about this, but
Oh man,
I did some internet research, and when you go into YouTube and the second largest search platform in the world, and you type Sean Gentry in, you see some clips, you see some highlight reels. So if anyone's feeling antsy and feeling like they want to dive deeper, that's my tip of the day for them. But walk me through, like, you graduate school. You decide that you want to be an actor. I assume you wanted to be an actor before that. It was maybe a dream of yours. And like, what was that whole like, how long did you do that before you somehow wound up into the sales world?
well, I will tell you, like for anybody that does go and Google it or search for it, it wouldn't be the first time that like my reel has surfaced through like my sales words. Yeah. So I guess when I was in middle school, I'm not going back too far for this long of a story, but I acted a bunch, right? I got in, I was doing commercials as kind of a young teen. I stopped for a bit. And so getting back into it, like kind of after playing sports in high school, I really wanted to stay in LA. I was born and raised there and get back into the film industry and continue acting. So I did that while I was going through college. Yeah. So I went to Cal State Northridge so that I could stay in LA and practice acting and kind of work on my craft there. And I really dove into like improv comedy. It was where I was focusing the majority of my time. So I studied at a couple schools called the Groundlings, UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, where a lot of people like go there before to go into SNL. And I just loved like being on stage and having to put myself in uncomfortable situations and think in the moment. So it was kind of a good precursor for sales. Funny enough, I acted for about 8 or 9 years, and that was my main point of focus. And when I met my now wife, I was acting at the time. She was working at UCLA Hospital and pretty much got to the breaking point after dating for a couple months of like, if you want to date seriously, you got to get a real job. And so I had a buddy that was he was basically working as an AE, and I didn't know anything about sales, like anything about, he was selling WordPress websites to real estate agents. I didn't know like anything about this industry. And he was like, dude, come on, like come be an SDR. And I wanted to date this woman so bad that I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll go be an SDR. And I did it. And I just like kind of cut my teeth cold calling real estate agents and grinding it out. And I think like the most formidable story here that I'll tell very, very quickly is that if you were an SDR, there was a loophole of a way that you could start closing deals. And the loophole was that at 8 a.m., the like board or the hierarchy of who got inbound leads officially started. So the way that it worked is there was like, 10 or 12 salespeople, there was a couple SDRs, and at 8 a.m., the top seller for the month was first on the board in the rotation for inbound leads, right? And we would get like phone leads a good amount of the time. So if you had like, Josh was first or Carol was second, Bob was third, blah, 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 it would go all the way down. The only way in the loophole that SDRs could get leads is that if you came into the office, it was first come, first serve before 8 a.m. So if you came in at like 7:30 and you were the first person there and an inbound lead came in at 7:30, you could pick up that phone call and hopefully sell that person. And so what I started to do was come in at 7:30. And then I think some of the AEs started to realize that I was coming in before they were. And then I started coming in at 7. And then I started coming in at 6:30. And sure as shit, like a month in, my boss gave me a key to the office because I was getting there pre 6 a.m. so that I could be there and be first to, potentially get any phone leads that came in. And I remember after my first 2 quarters there, I was beating half the AEs in sales as an SDR. And so, because I got to, work those leads and bring them in, and I was like, this is the best way to make money. So I got promoted to an AE after that, after about 6 months of being an SDR, worked my way up. I was fortunate enough after a couple of years there to join a company called Snack Nation, where I worked under Kevin Dorsey, who's a good friend of mine. Lucky enough that he's obviously like LinkedIn famous now. And I didn't know him at the time. I was just like, oh, here's a really cool dude that can teach me about sales, and been my mentor ever since. And worked for some phenomenal sales leaders like Mark Cosglow over at Outreach. And then now landed at Webflow leading North America sales. So it's been quite a journey from actor to SDR and then all the way to director.
Man, so I have to imagine the AEs at that first company must have been hating on you.
Dude, hated me. Luckily, I had my best friend there as an AE, so he kind of had my back. But yeah, my boss loved me. The reps hated me.
How old were you when you took that gig? Like, how long were you acting after college before?
Yeah. So I must have been so my wife and I have been together for 13 years. And so I was like, this must have been 26, 27. Yeah. And so I acted for a good amount of time after college and really was trying to break in. And I kind of always went in with the mindset of like, I don't want a fallback plan, right? Because I would always get asked like, well, what's your fallback plan? And I was like, fuck that. I don't want one, right? I want to like acting is it. And it got to a point where it was it until I was broke and wanted to finally date this girl. And so that was like some easy transition for me to get into sales, where I felt like I could kind of act on the phone every time I picked it up and use a lot of like my improv skills of thinking and being in the moment and listening. And so, I got into the game late. I'd say late, but don't regret the background at all.
Yeah. I mean, you just had that dog in you from the first time as SDR. Like that's not a normal thing to do. Like just so we're all clear, like it is not a normal mindset to have to, 8 o'clock, 7:30, and then to keep bumping up 7 to the point where you get a key in the office. That is a very rare just mindset and a trait to have, and it doesn't seem like you needed to be taught that. I'm curious, like, is that something that's just been a part of your upbringing, been a part of you? Did you feel like there was a financial pressure in sales and that clicked it on? Like, where do you think that comes from?
I've never really been like money motivated. And I know it's kind of funny thing to say as a salesperson, because most times you ask a rep what motivates them and they're going to say money. Which, if it truly was money, those people would be in jail, right? If money was the number one, they would be in jail. And so I think for me, it's like I always just wanted to prove myself. I always kind of had this chip on my shoulder. I played a lot of sports growing up. And like I always played. Now I play golf a lot, but I played basketball all growing up, and like I was never the most athletic, the tallest person out there. But I always just kind of played with this chip, like I wanted to prove to people that I could hang and I was good. And so I think like going in as an SDR, like I knew that I was better than a lot of these people, and not to say like egotistically, but like wanted to show what I could bring and show that value. And so for me, it was like the getting up thing. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but it's all, it's all about choosing your hard, right? So it's like, do you want to choose the hard of like waking up and setting your alarm, or do you want to choose the hard of like having to scratch and claw your way to quota with 1 week left? So it's like, which hard do you want to choose? And for me, when I started working with Kevin Dorsey, he told me something that's like truly resonated. It's like you want to outwork and outlearn everyone around you, right? Like if you can outwork them, great. There's a lot of people that can make 200 dials and everyone's making 50, but are you also learning more than those people? And like the biggest thing that I'll tell reps that I work with now or managers outside of Webflow is like you can't rely on your company for enablement. Like they are going to train you how to do the job that they need you to do to make money for them as a company. But truly, like if you want to grow and scale, you can't sit back and wait for them to teach you all those skills that are going to make you more money eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you brought up KD, friend of the podcast. Most people that are listening to this probably know that he exists and probably have consumed much of his content. What was it like learning, working for him, working with him? What'd you learn? What were if there were any downsides or any just like the hard part of it? What was that experience like?
Yeah, it's wild looking back. It's funny when I started working for him though, like I truly didn't know any different. Like when I was working as this SDR shop and became an AE, like that was like, have you ever seen the movie Boiler Room with Ben Affleck? Like, that's kind of what this was. Like it was a true like Boiler Room, Wolf of Wall Street style, like fights on the sales floor. Like it was a wild, wild west. And so working for KD, it's like I had a true sales leader, and it is not easy. Like it's not easy working for KD because he pushes, like the true definition of he pushes you harder or more than like further than you think you could go yourself. And I'll never forget, like I went into a one-on-one with him one time and I just had like a bear of a week, right? Where felt like I was running in all sorts of directions. We were at such a fast growing, scaling startup that there was just so many hats we were all wearing. And I went into a one-on-one and he was like, how are you doing? And I was like, man, I'm fucking exhausted, right? Like I just laid it out there. I was like, I'm exhausted. And he's like, I don't want to hear that shit. He's like, I don't want to hear it. He's like, I don't want you to complain. It was the type of thing where it was just like, oh, okay, like we're here to do this together. We're here to work. And it was like, I get that you're tired, but it's like, we got shit to do. And what's wild is that I felt like I was super in tune with like data and my team and my numbers. And he would always, always, always find some area that like I hadn't been looking. Right. And he's the perfect person to say that he is micro aware instead of micromanaging. He knows like every little thing that's happening in his business. And dude, I was texting with him today. Like I still talk to him all the time. I go to him with my thoughts, my issues. He's been a great person to ask for guidance and a great friend. Like I didn't know how fortunate I was to kick off my entire like sales journey working for him for a couple of years.
Yeah. Shout out to you, KD. Let's get you back on the pod, man. So I want to go a little bit deeper with you on this topic because I know your real passion is around the coaching and the leading, aspect of things. Not to say you don't also love sales, but I know that's just something you're super passionate about. It's going back to what we were saying towards the beginning of the call. It's fairly common for people to, at this day and age in 2025, ask people how they're doing, talk about mental health, get them, make sure that people have work-life integration or balance and that. And I find that it's tough. It's tough. I'll own this. It's tough for me to push. It's tough for me to know when to lean back or not even lean back, but just show support and when to say like, I don't want to hear that shit, as KD just said.
Things are different in this day and age than they were 10 years ago when he said that.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair, but I mean, you have to really earn the right to say something like that for you not to just go, well, F you.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
or
Totally.
to completely backfire or just like completely demotivate you. So I guess where I'm coming from on that is, do you think either in that instance or based on how you lead or other leaders you've worked for, do you think that's something that you can tactically build that trust somehow? Do you think it's really just you can only say that to a certain type of person? Um, how do you blend that, getting the best out of people, but also, having some empathy and emotional intelligence and making that balance? I find that to be really challenging.
Yeah, and it's even more challenging today because we are so remote, right? Like I think
Mm,
one of the interesting things, like yes, you need the trust, and yes, you need to know the person. Like there's no way that you could use that as a blanket statement across all of your reps, right? If I went to one of my reps and was like, "Hey, I don't want to hear about it," versus another one of my reps, I'm going to get two completely different reactions. And so you have to know how to motivate each individual. And I think about that like I'm a true like I love sports, right? I have to like stop with all the sports analogies because I know how some people hate them. Like I love sports, like that athlete, that dog is in me, right? So if somebody's gonna like I don't want to hear that shit or you can't do it, like that stuff that fires me up, right? And that's gonna work for me when a lot of people it wouldn't. And so one of the things I will say though, like the asterisk beyond this is that KD and I were literally in this startup office 10 hours a day or more every single day, sub weekends for like years up into this point. Like we knew each other's families. We were getting drinks. Like we had been through a lot of shit together. So it was like that relationship was so different than it
mm,
is now. Like Tom, you and I have known each other for a year, and we've spent what 3 days in person together total, maybe over that
yeah,
year. So it's like even that relationship is different than what we'd have back like when we were in the office every single day, right? And so
totally.
I think like that's a huge part of it. I think to your point of like checking in on people, one of the things tactically that I do like to do is that I ask people something twice. So like if I have a rep that shows up, I'm starting your one-on-one and I'm just like, hey Tom, like how's your week going? Your gut instinct is gonna say, yeah, it's going good, or yeah, it's fine. And then so I always ask it again. I'm like, okay, like how's your week going? And it's always that second question, right, of them to say like, oh well, yeah, it's been pretty rough. I've had a lot of meetings. I had this one deal cancel. I thought this was going to push, whatever. And so it's like that second question will sometimes get a different answer, a different response. Sometimes
Mm,
it gets the same, but it's like that's a way to build trust. And I think like in this remote environment, I also have to be vulnerable. I also have to be open because you're not seeing me all through the day, every instance. So it's like that this hour that we spend has to be a shared experience for both of us.
yeah. Do you ever miss the in-person environment? I mean, I imagine like with being a parent, it's probably quite nice for many reasons to be able to post up at your house, and you got a nice looking setup here for the people watching on YouTube to see your setup. But I kind of miss the office vibes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I miss about it. I will say having kids has changed my perspective a good amount. Even when I moved to Seattle, I was still spending an hour and a half in a commute every day, like going downtown,
Mm,
45 minutes there, 45 minutes back. That it's like now I get that extra hour and a half with my kids, right? I get to walk to my daughter to school every single day. When before, when we were in office, I was leaving before she even got up. So there's a lot of things that my values have shifted, becoming a parent. Would I ever deny that people can be more effective in the office? Absolutely not. I completely get that. Fortunately for Webflow, they're a 100% remote company. But
yeah,
if you were to put like a fully remote company versus a company that's in the office and everything else is equal, I'm betting on the company that's in the office. Like I'll be the
yeah,
first person to say that. But with that being said, yeah, I wouldn't change my downtime with the kids for anything.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a different perspective. I'm not quite at that point yet, but I definitely miss the days can just feel kind of weird at your house. Like if you're just at your house, maybe you get a workout in, maybe you go to the grocery or you drop your daughter off at school. But other than that, it's like I live here, I work here, I eat here, I sleep here. It can just feel kind of weird sometimes to me. It's hard to like shake the routine.
It is. I love a good offsite. I really do.
Yeah.
Like I love a good offsite, whether I'm hosting it, whether I'm, going to it. I feel like Webflow's done a great job of having offsites sporadically through the quarters or and like that I love because I love being in person. I love seeing my team. But yeah, I totally get both points of view.
Did you ever So when you joined Snack Nation, LinkedIn tells me that you went straight to sales manager. Is that right? Or did you ever consider walking deeper into the AE path, or did you either get shoved into it or just always be drawn to wanting to lead others?
Yeah, so that was my goal. Is I was an AE for a couple of years after moving up from SDR. And I wanted to become a leader. And that's part of the reason why I left the company I was at, is because there was no room, there was nowhere to go. We had one boss, he had been that boss for years, there was nowhere to go. And so I went to Snack Nation, and I remember I got put in a hiring class with other AEs. And honestly, like I was selling also, and then like team leading, and it just was like it was a very easy click for me to start managing those people. And we were growing and scaling so fast that I became the first sales manager there. And then we scaled up, and shoot, I did everything from I was running onboarding and hiring and training for a while. I managed a team of SDRs, I managed AEs, I like built out their enterprise function. I mean, we went from like 50 to 200 people in 2 years. Like it was just massive, massive growth. But leadership is always where like I truly wanted to make that impact for people. And I got to the point where I had sold enough. I had, only it was granted it was only a couple years, but it's like I got to the point where I felt more joy in teaching people and coaching them to sell versus like getting those DocuSigns back myself.
So if you were, let's say I was coming to work for you at Webflow, which would be just a true joy. I come in there, you hire me, day one, I'd never led before formally. What resources, books, podcasts, people to follow, quotes, like what comes to mind as like this would be your guidebook to me to learn how to be a great leader?
Ooh. Yeah, I'll start with like books. So I think there's two sides of it. There's like leadership, and then there's tactical like management, right? So like
Yeah.
leadership, it's very hard to go wrong with like Simon Sinek, like a leaders eat last, like extreme ownership, like Jocko. Like it's very hard to go wrong with like leadership. Tactically, I love like the Sales Manager Survival Guide by David Brock. I love Sales Management Simplified. I love the Transparent Sales Leader from Todd Capone. Shout out to Todd. Like those are kind of things that I would love, like tactically around leadership. Podcasts, like it's hard to miss. I listen to every 30 Minutes President's Club podcast that comes through. Like obviously Cosgrove is a host on there sometimes, and I love Nick and Armand. Like those are the great guys. And I think it is part of that. Like you want to outwork and outlearn. You want to consume as much as you can. But if I were coaching you, like in coming in as a branding manager, the first piece is that we'd have to nail down like your weekly cadence, because I feel like that is the biggest area that most managers struggle with. Is they get into a role and they want to super rep. They want to dive into every single deal. And they want to come in and save the day, kind of put the hero cape on themselves. And just 2 weeks in, they lead to burnout, right? They're just are like coming up for air every single day. And they get to the end of that week or those 2 week period, and they're like, what the fuck did I do this week? Like, what needles did I move, right? And so I feel like even now, moving from manager to director, the biggest thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around is like, how do I build out my weekly cadence so that I know what I'm doing every single week? And then for my managers that are reporting to me, they know what to expect every single week, right? Like if you look back at the best sports teams there are, they have like NFL teams, some of the championship teams, like the Eagles or whoever it is, they have a cadence and they know what they're practicing, when they're doing film review, like when they're getting training on their bodies, and they've got this like schedule down and the efficiency that comes from it. And so that's where like I train most sales managers from the jump is like, you got to learn what needles you want to move through the week and how you can bake that into your calendar every single day.
What did that, I know you're new in your role, so let's stick back to when you were a frontline leader. From a personal standpoint, professional standpoint, because you do a lot of shit. You got a wife, you got 2 kids. I see you working out every morning. I see you doing some other stuff. We've done some work together. You've done stuff that gotten on podcasts and this and that. And you're obviously a top performer. So what are the boundaries, the guidelines that like served you very well to manage your time well?
Yeah, it's gonna sound. Well, I should say, if I were to hear myself like 5 or 7 years ago, I'd be like, oh, get out of here. But like, honestly, getting up and working out before the day starts was like that was the biggest impact that I've had on my life. Like that was it about 5 years ago when I realized like I can't work out at 5 p.m. anymore because my kids. Like I got to do it in the morning. So getting up, I get up at most of the mornings between 4:45 and 5 a.m. Getting that first workout in, yeah, it's early. I know. I'm choosing my heart, man. It sucks.
Yeah, I love it.
But I go to bed the same time every single day. Like I don't time travel anymore. Like I used to get to the point where like on the weekends I'd stay up till midnight or watch a late movie. Like I go to bed around 10 o'clock every single night of the week because so that I can have like consistency. I'm much less fun now. Than at the beginning of this year too, the other unlock was that I stopped drinking. And I used to be a huge craft beer fan, especially living in Seattle, right? Going to breweries on the weekends, like drinking all the time, and just realized that it was like, oh, it was destroying my gut. It was like bad for me. It made me feel like shit the next day. So like I cut out alcohol. I will have like a tequila every now and then, small asterisk, but that also like truly helped me like wake up every morning, able to work out. And that catalyst of like getting done with my workout by 6:45, 7 o'clock, and like being focused, like energized, ready for the rest of the day. Then it comes down to, like I said, like calendar blocking. And the gap here is that I feel like I make a big priority on my calendar for preparation. Like that's the thing that most managers miss is that they'll go like 1-to-1, 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 call review, and there's burnout. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job of like stacking my one-on-ones early in the week so I can give feedback and then hold people accountable. But then I block actual prep time so that I can go through and prepare for those one-on-ones so that they're actually like worthwhile, right? I'm not getting into those one-on-ones being like, oh, Tom, like, what's up? How are you doing? Right? It's like, we know what we're going to tackle because I've prepared. And so having those prep calls, they do two things. Like they allow me to prep, but it also gives me time to like decongest, right? Or digest. It gives me a time to like decompress. I guess decompress is the right word. So it works kind of both ways to help me kind of like block out the noise, but prep for the week, and then like stay focused through the rest of the day.
What I love about your answer, well, a few things. One is like the things that you always do, like you're always, going to bed at a certain time, waking up, doing the workouts, doing your prep, and then some of the things that you never do, and I think oftentimes people talk about time management and their schedule and talk about this is what you should do, this is what your morning routine should look like, add in all these things, when sometimes it's just a simple removal of a thing or two. For your case, removing drinking, that was the lead domino to, well, now I sleep better. So then I wake up more refreshed. Then I'm more likely to hit my workout. Then I'm more likely to have energy throughout the day. And it's just this domino effect. And for different people, it's different things. For me, getting off of, Instagram and other social medias, that was a huge time suck for me. I felt like I had an extra hour and a half in my day. I felt like I was a superhero for, the first few months after I did it. And so,
dude, we do so much as humans to like raise our cortisol levels without us even trying, right? So it's like whether it's doom scrolling through social media, it's the same thing. Like I deleted Instagram a couple years ago, and I've got LinkedIn, but whether it's like doom scrolling, I realized like for me, like drinking the next day, my stress and anxiety levels were so much higher. And so it's like, let's see what would be a problem was a fucking huge problem the next day, right? Because I also felt like shit when I was trying to handle it. And so it's like, okay, if I can just cut that out, and dude, like I love Athletic Brewing. I'll be the first person. Like I'm an Athletic Brewing member. I get like a case delivered every single month.
Oh, wow.
Dude, I love it. And so I'll have like an athletic, like a non-alcoholic beer every now and then. And so it's like, that's my kind of mix, right? Is that I can have a couple non-alcoholic beers, still feel great in the morning. But yeah, it's like, we got to cut out the stuff that's just raising your cortisol, like your stress levels and hurting your productivity.
Does your wife drink, or did she cut it out too?
Cold turkey.
At the same time?
No, she did it before I did though, but she did it for a lot of health reasons.
I see.
And she was never a huge drinker anyways, but she also kind of got to the point where she was just like, this doesn't make me feel good. Like I always feel bad. I sleep poorly. She's like, why am I doing this? And so she cut it out. She's been like almost 2 years, no drinking. And like, so far, what are we in May? I've had, I think, two days where I've had a couple like margaritas, and that's pretty much it.
Wow. That's impressive, man. All right. I want to hit you with a couple rapid fires that I did not prepare you for before we wrap up to keep you on your toes and learn a little bit more about you on the personal side. So, first up, what goes through the Sean Gentry Spotify tunes or wherever you listen to music? What's going on right now?
Oh man, I have zero shame in my game. So yeah, I'd say so. I think if I would look back to like my top listened artists of last year, Taylor Swift was number one.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Taylor Swift was number
I
one.
thought you were going to say Odessa.
No, Odessa's in my top five, but this is you can see my range. Right now, I've been listening to a ton of Morgan Wallen and Post Malone. I love country music. And then I'd say rounding out my five is probably Chapel Roan right now.
Wow. You do have range. It's good. It's a good time for country music. It's beginning of May.
Yeah.
Sun's coming out. You got to
Can't
get the
feel
vibes
bad
going.
when going to the country. It's great.
Got to get the vibes going. All right, cool. What any recent, I know we talked about some of your favorite books and podcasts, but anything recent that you've consumed that you really like? Any other resources that have made a big impact on you in your life, whether it's sales related or not?
Holy smokes! If you haven't watched the season of Last of Us, that's very, very, very good. I do love TV as well, I will say. So like that's my advice is like I got off social media and now I consume television. Being an actor in LA for a long time, like loving TV and movies. So like I love Severance, I love Last of Us. And so that's like, yeah, if I'm not watching NBA basketball, I'm usually like binge watching a show that's on.
I just watched the first season of Severance. It was so good.
Dude, the second season is fantastic too.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. We're diving into it tonight. All right, what's something that you do outside of work that you've talked about a few of these things as well, but that keep your mind right, work on the inner game, keep in a good spot, keep the stress down?
Yeah, I mean it's exercise. Like it's my stress reliever and it's my social aspect. So being remote, it's tough. I don't see a lot of people, and obviously in my workout community here, it's a bunch of guys here in Seattle that decide to work out at 5:30 a.m. rain or shine, mostly rain. And so that's an opportunity for me to not only to see people in my community, but just to have that stress release, to get out and exercise. It's critical. I've been through a couple injuries over the last couple of years of just like, rolled ankles or stuff like that. Or if I'm sick, if I had COVID like a couple years ago and I can't work out for like a week and I can just feel my mental health like slowly deteriorating of like, I need to get out and like exercise, move my body, sweat and see some people. So yeah, that's my rules.
Love it. Last rapid fire for you. This is called the selfish section of the podcast. And I got to ask, who do you think should come on this podcast? And the caveat is that you have to know them in some way because I might use you for a reference.
Oh my gosh. Okay. There are a lot of people that I'm thinking right now. I would love to have like Katie or Casaglo that are leaders. They do a lot of podcasts. There's people out there that I follow that I really respect, like Brian Lamana is doing great stuff. JC Pollard, which I know you know from your Gong days. Mm-hmm. I love Alex Kremer as well. Here it is. There's a guy that's on JC Pollard's team. This is going to be so random that I know from outreach that Alex used to know too. His name is Alec Kimball. He's one of the best.
I know Alec.
Do you really?
Yeah, because him and Alex Kremer were roommates for a period of time.
Yes, in Austin. Dude, I love Alec Kimball. I managed him for a very short time. I saw he's on JC Pollard's team. That guy is a boss. He would be a great person from an AE perspective to come on and share what he's doing because I've just like seen immense growth from him.
He is a boss, and he's one of the most interesting cats. I think the first time I met him, I learned that he was a D1 football player at UW. Yeah. And he was what's this? It's not line dancer, cowboy dance, some sort of like a cowboy Western dancer, like not professionally, but like takes it very seriously. I'm like, man, this guy's got a lot. He's got layers to him. All right, Alec Kimball, is on the list. So is JC. I haven't had JC on either.
Yeah. I actually haven't met JC. We've been in similar cycles, but I haven't heard him on a podcast either. I haven't met him yet.
Okay, I love it, man. Well, I know we're wrapping up here. I feel like we could go for hours and hours. We might need to do a part 2 at some point, but I just want to publicly say, first of all, that I'm just stoked to see the progress that you've been making in your own career, your own life. I feel like I've learned a lot from you in getting to know you in the last year, and just super excited that you came on the pod. Super feel lucky that we just met like on LinkedIn, just the random ways of the sales world, and just want to open it up for any last kind of thoughts you have for the audience, or any other things you want to push or plug for people to get to know you better.
Dude, I feel exactly. I'm not going to take the opportunity to plug. I'm just going to share gratitude for getting to know you as well, and us working together on some projects. And I think you were the proactive one that reached out, and you were just like, dude, we know similar people. Like, why haven't we connected? And it was just that kind of proactive outreach. We jumped on a Zoom, and I feel like it was instant click. So note for anybody listening, like if you have that person that you feel like you would vibe with, connect with on LinkedIn, like be proactive, ask for time. You never know what's going to happen.
I love it, man. Good share. I appreciate it. Everyone go follow Sean on LinkedIn. Go Celtics. Lakers suck. And you're the man, Sean. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for checking out that episode. Two quick things as a takeaway. Number one, we would feel honored if you left a review wherever you're listening to this podcast, if it's on Spotify or Apple or YouTube, to just let us know how we're doing, what else you'd like to see. If you'd like to learn more about us, you can check us out at tasales.co. Love to hear from you there. Much love. Have a great week.